Hey guys, welcome to another online class. So, so today we'll be studying about bio, and I changed the color of the marker if you guys didn't notice it. Yep. Alright, this time we'll study the second chapter, which is called, let me increase the thickness a little bit, respiration. So we'll study about respiration today. So we'll divide this lesson into parts or something like that, so that it's easier for you guys to understand and it's easier for me to make the video. Alright, so if you guys are new to our channel, please subscribe and like the video if you guys like it. And then if you have any doubts about this lesson or the video I'm telling or the topics I'm telling, please comment below and we'll solve it together. Alright, now, alright, let us know the meaning of respiration in general. Wow, that's big. Okay, let me zoom out a little bit. Normally, what is respiration? To me, respiration is a process of inhaling and exhaling. Yep, and that is what respiration mean to me. Okay, I mean in general. If you guys, you must also be thinking like this. It's a process of inhaling and exhaling of gases, different types of gases. So today we'll learn about this chapter. Alright, I'll tell you the important points as well, and also I'll explain you it briefly to not to make the video very lengthy. Alright, so in the first paragraph, sorry if you guys can hear background noises. I'm actually in a place where there's a lot of sound, so excuse me. So the first thing is, in the first paragraph, if you guys look at the page number 24, there he gave the food provides energy for all the biological activities after only breaking down through the process known as respiration. So respiration leads to final utilization of food. Normally respiration takes place in oxygen rich environment. Alright, so after that last para, if you guys look at in the, I mean there are two paras if you guys look at in the 24 page. So there he gave us the term respiration derived from Latin word called respire. Respire meaning to breathe. Alright, meaning to breathe, which also it is he gave it refers to the whole process of inhaling to the use of oxygen in the cells. So now we'll go deeper into the study. So the next paragraph is the topic about discovery of gases. Discovery of gases. Alright, so discovery of gases. Here he gave us briefly, let me decrease the thickness to it. Alright, here he gave us the term respiration came into use a century after the word breathing was used way back in the 14th century. So before the respiration word was introduced, people like they would call it breathing. I mean, still we call it breathing. Nobody uses the respiration word often. All right. So respiration, which was used as a medical term, usually referred to a involving passage of air and production of body heat. So it is a process. Yeah, that's how I write I. All right. It is whatever. It a process involving involving passage of air, taking in air. It also refers. I mean, I told you guys in starting of the video that it refers to the inhaling and exhaling, and plus producing. Yeah, I'm sorry. My handwriting is really bad. That's because I'm writing on a phone. Stop it. All right. Stop. Stop. All right. All right. It is a process in which there is inhaling and exhaling technically and production of body heat. It was not until 18th century when Lavoisier. So in this topic, we get two of the famous scientists who are called Lavoisier and Presley. What is this spelling? Okay, Presley. So these both are very important scientists who actually discovered gases. I'll tell you how. So they worked on properties of gases and they conducted several experiments. So now we'll study about the experiments they have conducted um, to know the gases present in the air. So in the early experiments, it is clear that Lavoisier thought that the gases liberated on heating powdered charcoal in a bell jar kept over water in a trough was like fixed air. All right. If you look at keenly, let me write down here. The first experiment he conducted is technically I'm writing here heating charcoal kept over in a bell jar. I'm gonna write the whole thing. Bell jar kept over water. It was like covered with the water, kept over water, and then in a trough, like it was in a trough was like fixed air, was like fixed air. All right, let's go all the way to the starting. So you guys know what is charcoal, you guys know what is heating, and you guys know the bell jar. It is covered with, I mean, it's kept over the water. When they heated the charcoal, it was like fixed air. Fixed air is nothing but CO2, which is also nothing but carbon dioxide. I'm sorry, my handwriting is really bad. Alright, so that's the first experiment he conducted in order to know the gases present in the air. The next series of experiment dealt with the combustion of phosphorus in a bell jar. Wait a second. Combustion. Combustion, it's also like heating process. Combustion of, my screen just jumps over every single time. Phosphorus in a bell jar. Alright, this is the second experiment he conducted. Alright. From these studies, Lavoisier showed that whatever in the atmospheric air which was combined with phosphorus was not water vapor. Alright, let me write down here. Which was combined. We don't know what's combined. The outcome. I'm sorry, not the outcome. It was, this thing was not water vapor. So he confirmed it. It's not water vapor. Alright? And then he moved to the next segment. His final words are that the substance which combines with the phosphorus is either air itself or another elastic fluid present in certain portion in the air which we breathe. So he confirmed that it must be the air itself. Air itself, or it must be elastic. I'm sorry, that's not it. Elastic fluid. Alright? And then third, it is also a air which we breathe. So technically, we can write it as it is respirable. Respirable air. It is also a component used for burning. What is that in the black? My goodness. Alright. The fifth one, the air that we breathed out made lime water milky, while that heating metal did not. He noticed that fixed air also made lime water milky. So the air we breathe out made lime water milky. I mean, the air we breathe out contains CO2, made lime water milky. He also tested it with CO2, which confirms that this CO2 also makes the lime water milky. So it's obviously going to be CO2, like it's obviously going to be carbon dioxide, which makes the lime water milky. So then if we come down to the last paragraph, it's in the box on page number 25. A few lines from a textbook of human physiology written by renowned chemist John Tapper around mid 19th century goes like this. The chief materials which a living being receives are matter that can be burnt, water and oxygen gas. and out of the action these upon another, all the physical phenomena of its life arise. What the body expels out is water, oxide of carbon, phosphorus, sulfur, and others. So, he confirmed here several things. What the hell? Okay, I need to rub it off. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. If you guys didn't watch the maths class yesterday, go watch it. What do you guys do? I mean, after watching this, go watch that one as well. Single logarithm, I explained it. Go watch. Hurry! But after watching this, I didn't mean to take a screenshot. Where's my thing? Okay. Zoom out. Zoom in. Gosh. Alright. Here in that thing, in that small paragraph, he confirmed. We can understand. Gosh, my page went off. Nice. Alright, we can understand from this. The chief materials means the important and the most essential, the main materials which a living being receives are matter that can be burnt. So matter is nothing but which occupies space and has some mass to it, is called matter. So matter there is, in that matter refers to water. Yeah, my handwriting is really, and oxygen. And then when these react on each other, they, all the physical reactions and the whatever the life is running upon is because of their reaction, that thing means. So let's go to next page. Let me go down. Alright, nice. Thus, we can see that the role of major compounds and elements in the process of respiration was known by 19th century, by mid 19th century. So they came to know about the process of respiration by mid 19th century. It's you. I'm sorry. Okay. The event involved. Okay, they don't know the exactly how it happens. So now we're going into the actual respiration process and the all the things now. So a little bit concentration needed while you're reading this. There's no strict demarcations of steps involved in the process of respiration. It is a very complex process of several physical and biochemical processes. But for a general understanding on what goes, we shall study under the following heads. So there are some boxes here, if you guys observe. Breathing, air movement, and into and out of the lungs. So majorly, let me go down. Majorly, breathing happens, respiration occurs in lungs. So the next one is gaseous exchange at lung level. Alright, we need to note this down. Let me go a little bit there. So first will come breathing. Alright, next comes the gaseous exchange. Gaseous exchange at lung level. Only lungs. And then third is gas transport by blood. Gas transport by blood. This is pretty easy. You guys can understand it. Then comes the gaseous exchange. Gaseous exchange at tissue level. Tissue level. Alright. Then lastly, fifth one is cellular respiration. Alright. Let us detailedly understand what this thing means. So breathing, as I told you guys, air movement into and out of lungs, which is pretty easy. Exchange of gases between alveoli and blood. So you can hear the gas means it might be it is oxygen. So the oxygen and the exchange of gases between the major role is played by alveoli. So we'll talk about that later in the chapter. Then gas, whatever the oxygen is present, the oxygen is transported by blood to overall the body, and then next gaseous exchange happens at tissue level, and whatever the other gas, which is the CO2, is exchanged at tissue level and it's brought back to lungs again. And then cellular respiration means using oxygen in cell processes to produce carbon dioxide and water, releasing energy to be used for life processes. So using oxygen in cell processes, that is to produce carbon dioxide and water and energy. So cellular respiration produces carbon dioxide, water and energy. So very important, this flow chart is very important. You guys, let me zoom out a little bit. This thing very important. This is what the chapter runs on. And then we got the breathing. In the previous classes we did experiments to find out what was there in the air we breathe out. So I mean, before also we have learned that because of carbon dioxide, the lime water turned milky white fast. So there is an activity. So how do we do that? Wait. As we breathe out, compared to a similar set in which normal air was passed with the help of syringe or pitchkari in lime water, experimenters set up in inhaled air. Alright, we need to take 2 test tubes. And water, we need to fill test tubes with water, and then we need to breathe out the air, and we need to put okay, I understood that. Wait, so you take 2 test tubes. I'm sorry, my drawing is also horrible. Alright, let us assume that's a test tube. Okay, alright, you need to take 2 test tubes. Let me draw one here. Alright, now there must be a guy here with a pipes inserted, and there must be another pipe like thing inserted between, which is not connected to anything. Alright, and then in this one you need to fill lime water. and this one you need to fill normal water. After filling the normal water with the pipes attached to your mouth, you need to exhale the air and see. We are aware of the fact that water vapor deposits on a mirror if we breathe out on it. Where does this water vapor come from? In exhaled air. Okay, after that, what does this experiment indicate? Which gas turns lime water milky? Obviously, it's CO2. Alright, we shall have to study. Yeah, you need to see if the lime water turns milky and if the water turns milky. So, and you need to conclude that. Alright, I'm not gonna waste any of my time dubbing. I'm done wasting my time and wasting you guys' time, okay? We shall study the pathway of air in our body through respiratory system and the mechanism of breathing in respiration to find out how exhaled air comes out. By respiratory system, we usually mean the passages that transport air to the lungs and to the microscopic air sacs in them called alveoli, where gases exchange between them and blood vessels and vice versa. Alright, now comes the role of alveoli. Is it called alveoli? Yeah. Alveoli. So what this thing does is where the gases exchange happen. So this part helps in gases exchange, alright? And then these gases exchange happen between alveoli and blood vessels. And this process keeps on going. It comes like that, it goes like that. I mean, it's vice versa means it repeats again and again. Alright. Pathway of air. Let us observe the pathway of air from nostril to alveolus. So there is another flowchart like thing which is really important. It is really important. I don't know if I can show you. Wait a second. Oh, alright, I'm not showing you. Okay, I'm gonna write it. Nostrils, um, nozzle cavity, and then pharynx. I don't know how to spell the names, man. I'm going to be honest. Larynx, trachea, bronchis, bronchialis, alveolus, and then finally comes the blood. Alright, this is the flow chart I have made. So it keeps on going vice versa. It comes like that, again it goes. I mean, it's the same process. Arrow, 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 arrow. Again it goes upwards. It goes in reverse process again. This one goes up again, this one goes up. It's a vice versa process. and finally reach the nostrils again. Whoa. Okay. Now let us study in detail. Air usually enters the body through nostrils, which we know. Nasal cavity, I'll tell you in brief what happens because there's a lengthy paragraph here. Purifies and moist the air and makes the temperature that of body's temperature. So it filters, it's like a filter for air. Nasal cavity is like a filter for air, and it purifies the air and moist the air, and the air will be made to the it will match the air temperature with the body temperature. And then pharynx controls the movement of food and air, movement of food and air. And then larynx produces sound when air comes out of lungs. It's like a vocal cord. This is where the vocal cord contains there. And then trachea is the windpipe. In short, I'm telling you guys, this is the windpipe. And bronchus is the division of windpipe to each lung. I mean, there are more branches. It's like there are so many branches that divides the air so that equal air is supplied to everything. Smaller branches of bronchus. Bronchioles means smaller branches of bronchus. And then alveolus is, I have told you before, where the gases exchange take place, and then blood transport the gases and collects CO2 from tissues or cells. Alright, I have completed this flowchart as well. It's really easy. You guys can, if you guys heard what I said, I have told you everything in small definitions, so it must be easy for you guys. So let us learn. Do you know, at the end of page number 28, the interior lung is divided into millions of small chambers, then thus tremendously increasing the moist surface available for transfer of gases between air and lungs. The lining of the lungs are much folded, and those they are total surface is enormous. If alveoli of our lungs are spread out, they will cover an area of nearly 160 meters square, which is equivalent to tennis court. Okay, whenever this lungs, so if you guys have the diagram of the digestive system, I mean, not the digestive system, I'm sorry, not the I mean, okay, assume these are lungs, alright? I'm sorry, I'm so trash. I'm so bad at drawing, man. Alright, as this goes, there are so many branches which supplies the air. Like, there are so many chambers for air to be supplied so that equivalent air is supplied to all over the lungs. Same here. These must be connected. Alright? So there are millions and millions of small chambers located in inside the lung, so that equal amount of air is moist surface available for transfer of gases between air and blood. I mean, it is a moist surface. It needs to purify the air and supply the transfer the transfer of gases between air and blood must be easier for this thing. The linings of our lungs are much folded, and their total surface is enormous. Enormous is like it's really big. We cannot count it out. If the alveoli of our lungs are spread out, they will cover an area of nearly 160 meter square, which is equivalent to a tennis court. Yeah, it's huge. All right, so I'm going to teach you another topic and we'll stop it here. I think the video is already really lengthy, and we'll continue tomorrow or day after tomorrow, and we'll complete this lesson. All right, next we got epicolitis or epicolitis. All right, I'm just gonna write the spelling. Oh my god, my screen is jumping. Epiclotis. Epiclotis. Yeah, epiclotis. So epiclotis, I'll tell you in brief what happens. So when let us assume that this is our mouth, and when the what is this black line, man? All right, when this thing enters in nearly our throat, these things are divided into two chambers again. Let us think, two parts again, and one goes here, one goes there. All right, I mean it's just I'm making you guys think that these are two uh, parts which are divided. And let me tell you, so one thing is our food pipe, and one thing is obviously windpipe. All right, clear. Let me tell you, the movement of food and air is channeled properly by a flap-like valve, the epiglottis, that protects the tube to the lungs, prohibiting entry of food. So this windpipe, right? So this must be somewhere here. It is like, let me tell you, let me write beside that. For me, man, easily to understand, I've kept the name for this is leader of windpipe. Leader of windpipe. That's it. It's the easiest way to understand the thing. So it just protects the thing when you're eating. Imagine this is your food coming. So this food must go into the food pipe. So if you're by mistake, if it goes to the lung side, this doesn't allow it. Like it stops the whole food there. So that the food whichever is going to the windpipe is stopped there itself, and it doesn't reach the lungs. That's it. So that's why when you're eating food, most of the people will tell not to talk while eating, because the food chain might be messed up. I mean the food progress which has to go into the food pipe might go into the windpipe. So it's not very good to talk while eating. And also the valve is partly closed when we swallow food. So when you swallow food, this thing is it's kind of closed, and it makes the food pipe a little bit bigger. And again, when you're breathing in the air, when you're breathing in, this thing will become like little bit bigger. So that's why when you try to swallow and breathe at the same time, it will not be possible. Try. Don't try it. If something happens, I'm not responsible. I'm telling. All right. It deflects food down to the stomach and keeps it out of trachea or windpipe, which is route to the lungs. The epiglottis opens more widely when we take a breath and air enters the lungs. As I told you, when we breathe, this thing opens up large. I mean, it opens up widely so that more amount of air can go into your lungs. Nervous regulation is important in guiding the function of epiglottis and passage of food and air. Why are we advised not to talk while eating food? As I told you. So, in the next class, we'll discuss about the mechanism of respiration in human beings, and also we'll discuss about the gases exchange at alveoli and capillaries. I'll probably complete the lesson in 2 or 3 days. So this must be easy. I'll tell you guys in short forms and shortcuts, like how to remember the easily. As I told you, epiglottis means leader of windpipe and food pipe technically. So I hope you guys learned something new from this, and I hope you guys understood everything which I told. So if you liked my explanation, please give this video a thumbs up, and if you also like the content of our channel, please subscribe with the bell to never miss an upload or a class. Alright, for now this is it, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next class.